Britain is under attack every day. It's become a national crisis.
The disruption was massive, devastating.
The enemy is hidden.
We are everywhere and nowhere.
Cybercriminals are hacking in to our local authorities. One of the worst hit, a small council overseeing the community of Redcar and East Cleveland.
And you actually feel quite helpless.
Redcar and Cleveland council services were affected for months.
Yes, the councils, the big businesses, they should be prepared for things like this. They're not the ones that's actually being targeted, it's the little people.
With many other public services in England coming under attack, we track down one of the Russian hacking gangs.
We show corporations and politicians from the so-called first world countries that they cannot feel safe.
And we investigate whether more of the UK's vital infrastructure could be at risk of a catastrophic cyber siege.
The ransomware thugs have shown hostile nation-states how to disrupt our societies. Redcar and Cleveland was a crisis. What about 10 Redcar and Clevelands at the same time?
I'm Mary Lanigan. I was the leader of Redcar and Cleveland Council. I'm retired now, and actually I need a rest. When I was first on the council, there wasn't the technology that we have now. I used to take pens and papers to work and take all my notes down that way. And then things changed.
This old-fashioned pen-pushing system can't last much longer. The board has started to look to computers.
And then, of course, we got the cyber attack.
The network lead noticed that something was wrong, kind of rushed in Saturday around 2 or 3 a.m. to start shutting everything down. We just ran from building to building, and yeah, rest is history. My name is Ben Saunders. I used to work for the IT department for Redcar and Cleveland Borough Council for 3 years. The ransomware attack was attacking everything, included the on-site backups. Just start seeing the icons start to disappear. Very, very worrying.
I've spent most of my career unmasking cyber criminals, but this is a story that senior people in government didn't want you to hear. We've spent months trying to get people to talk. Some agreed to break their silence, despite ongoing pressure not to.
Central government. What I was getting off them and my senior management team was, don't talk about it. They didn't want this put out into the public domain. And actually, I should have gone public.
Redcar and Cleveland Council declined to be interviewed for this programme, but in a statement they said there was no pressure or instruction not to speak publicly, either at the time or since then. Local councils touch the lives of everybody, every day. They deal with roads, rubbish, schools, libraries. They provide care for older people. They organise protection for vulnerable children. But here in 2020, all those services were brought to a halt.
I was at home, got a phone call to say, Mary, we've been hit, we've got a cyber attack. The destruction of our systems was total. This virus had been put into our computers weeks and weeks before, and then they'd activated it on that Saturday morning.
The virus infected all the council's computers with what's called ransomware.
I'm Gary Brown. I'm a cybersecurity consultant based in the Northeast with Bondgate IT. A ransomware attack can be triggered by multiple events. In attacks like the Redcar Cleveland attack, this started from an email. It looks very friendly and very familiar, except it's not. What that's doing is opening the door to the cyber criminal.
This is a controlled demonstration for our cameras by cybersecurity experts from Pen Test Partners. This is what happens when a commonly used strain of ransomware is released by an email attachment. It scrambles the data, then comes the ransom demand.
I'm Kieran Martin, the first head of the National Cybersecurity Centre at GCHQ. Ransomware is a name given to a type of cyber attack where the hacker essentially demand a payment for a key to let you back in. They won't know that they're taking out services to vulnerable children, and they won't care. They're just after money.
It took just 8 seconds to wipe out this laptop. The same kind of virus scrambled Redcar and Cleveland's entire network in just a few hours.
BBC Radio Tees. Oh, come on in, how are you? Hey, good morning and welcome to your weekend. You're waking up to Saturday, the 8th of February.
I felt isolated. I felt a great weight on my shoulders. I went down, there wasn't a lot we can do. We informed central government that we had an issue and it needed to be sorted quickly.
With instructions to keep it quiet, local residents were told very little.
Our teams are working hard to bring the RCBC website back online. We would like to apologise for any inconvenience this may cause.
It was a shock to the system, and then of course you had to be practical. So it was actually getting more phones in there so that people could ring us. But of course it didn't work 100%. So we had no contact with Cleveland Police, no contact with the NHS. Social services went down. People couldn't pay their council tax. Staff couldn't get paid. Elderly care services went down. So even somebody ringing up and saying, my bin hasn't been emptied, wasn't dealt with because we didn't have the infrastructure in there.
I'm Steve Mackey. I'm the news editor here at BBC Radio Tees, and I've been in this position for the past 15 years. We're hearing certain tidbits that something wasn't quite right with Redcar and Cleveland Council. What we found was a wall of silence, repeated attempts to get Redcar and Cleveland Council to come and speak to us. The leader of the council at the time was Mary Lanigan. We wanted her to come on and explain to our listeners what the issue was.
So local press were coming in because they knew that Redcar and Cleveland Council had been hit. I could only say, basically, that we'd had a cyber attack.
At this stage, it was still a mystery who exactly had attacked Redcar and Cleveland Council and why anybody would bother hitting a local authority. The best place to investigate that is on something called the dark web. I've managed to get access to some of the most secretive criminal forums in the world with the help of undercover intelligence officers from a private cybersecurity firm called Cyjax. The dark web is a hidden area of the internet. You can only get to it using specialist software which makes your internet traffic anonymous. Now, that's not illegal, but a lot of people use that anonymity to commit cybercrime. You actually get hackers who've broken in to local authorities in the UK. Gateshead Council got hit, and here, right now live on this site, is apparently files from inside Gateshead Council, hundreds of employees' details being leaked. This is a lesson for future victims of this gang. If you don't pay up, we are going to leak your data. We did it to Gateshead Council and we'll do it to you. It was this kind of forensic work on the dark web by UK agencies like GCHQ that led to an important discovery. The attack on Redcar appeared to come from a familiar enemy.
We can say with confidence that Redcar and Cleveland were hit by a Russia-based gang of cyber criminals. Which one is a bit murkier?
The men behind these gangs flaunt their wealth. In this video, obtained by the National Crime Agency, a prominent ringleader is seen driving a flash car around the streets of Moscow.
They've got massive egos, they live flamboyant lifestyles, they are criminal thugs, they collaborate with each other. Those would be the sort of ringleaders.
But despite their disdain for the rules, when it comes to their criminal operations, these gangs are run like slick companies.
These are not loan operators anymore. These are businesses. They've got HR departments, they've got salary structures.
They essentially employ and contract with people. Employees that work Monday 9 to 5, employee of the month. So you've got this sort of weird system of maybe a few hundred really high-level criminal thugs with a very strange and murky relationship with the Russian state. And then you've got a bunch of, if you like, foot soldiers just keyboarding, doing the dirty work for them.
It's 3 o'clock with your latest news. Here's Anna Murray.
More than 135,000 people living in East Cleveland have been without online public services as Redcar and Cleveland Council struggles with a cyber attack.
What was going through my mind that Monday morning was of all of the places that could have been affected, why specifically some hokey town in the middle of nowhere? We were all given assignments to go site to site, discover how much damage had been done to our laptops and desktops. Any that were infected, we just pulled aside, put them in a pile. That belief that we're going to get on top of it was a little bit naive when we saw how much damage it had been caused. We realised it'd probably take weeks, maybe years to do.
Computer systems at Redcar and Cleveland Council remain down. Experts say it looks like a ransomware attack where files are scrambled until a ransom's paid.
The criticism that I got from the local reporters and press, they just wanted some sensationalism. And what they didn't understand, we were dealing with a crisis.
It's very frustrating when you get anecdotal evidence of what's going on and you can't pin that down. By speaking to listeners out in the street, and it became apparent very, very quickly that there was a major problem happening.
We currently have IT issues. Please note our libraries will close today at 5 p.m.
This man usually relies on the computers at Saltburn Library to apply for jobs. Now he's having to pay to travel to Redcar Job Centre.
People are worrying about it, whether they're going to be sanctioned, and they'll be worried like hell about it. But I'm not trying to get out of looking for jobs.
Had to register Dad's death. All handwritten, no computers.
I'm struggling to register for council tax online.
I can't get through to the Adult Services helpline. Is the number right?
One of the things that ransomware has taught us brutally is the way in which cybercrime can really wreck lives.
In February 2020, we were very reliant on the council.
I have FND, it's functional neurological disorder. It mimics ME, MS, Parkinson's. You have to basically be there for me, don't you? All the time.
I had to give up my job, which I quite enjoyed.
Like many other families, Paul and Claire desperately needed care workers and equipment provided by the council.
you couldn't get through to the council, and if you could, you'd be waiting on the phone for hours. Nobody knew what was going on. We were at breaking point.
So people would come here and bang on the door, and sometimes I'd get phone calls, and I think I got one at midnight one night. My bin hasn't been emptied. What are you doing about it as leader of the council?
No emails, no website, and no access to data and files. Mary's solution was to go back to a time she remembers well, long before computers.
We went back decades where the council would have run before with pieces of paper and normal phone calls and filing things away. Of course, for the staff, that was difficult. They weren't used to that way of working.
When people were coming, it was handwritten notes, so the systems weren't getting updated. It was a real nightmare.
It would be many months before Claire got the support she needed.
It's affected me mentally. We've nearly broken up a few times. It's caused havoc with the family, hasn't it?
Yeah. I could have quite easily given in.
I couldn't be without him. I'm very lucky, considering what I've been through, so...
On the Tuesday morning, we actually got a ransom note.
You can't work, you can't provide whatever it is you're providing, so you might be tempted to pay up low single-figure millions of US dollars. It was always priced in US dollars to be paid in cryptocurrency, but a significant sum for a local council on that type of budget.
I'm a Yorkshire woman, and the thing being about that is there was no way I was paying any ransom to anybody. You see this little old lady and you think, she's all right. No, I'm not. Crikey, they did pick the wrong woman to mess with. They didn't know who I was. Don't pay ransoms. Don't take prisoners if you like.
With no end to the crisis in sight, the government called an emergency COBRA meeting.
That's when you realise just how serious it was. It wasn't just some hacker sat in a bedroom having a play with computers. And that's why, perhaps, they wanted the secrecy.
There's a cross-government crisis meeting, and it's agreed that unusually, in fact I think for one of the few times in my sort of 7 years running the NCSC, we decided with Redcar and Cleveland's agreement to deploy a small team of experts directly on site, and off they go. In ransomware, it absolutely batters the network. We have a situation where the database and the data relating to vulnerable children is out of action. You can't do that remotely. You need to go up there.
They were actually quite secretive, the Men in Black, would you believe it? I think their job was to find out who was behind it, see what they'd taken, see what the worm was that was in the systems itself, and then to rebuild with our staff.
It was a little scary to know that GCHQ were there, to be honest. Kind of made me feel like there was a shadow watching over us, making sure we didn't do anything wrong.
A temporary system for social services was restored in a few weeks. It took 10 months to rebuild the council's entire computer network, at a cost of £11.3 million. The government compensated the council with £3.68 million.
2 years after the hit on Redcar Council, it was a conflict that happened 2,000 miles away that finally gave the best clue, I believe, as to who was behind that cyber attack.
As Russia invaded Ukraine, one of the world's most prolific ransomware gangs, called the Conti Group, fell apart. Pro-Ukrainian hackers were unhappy about Conti's support for the invasion so they leaked the group's private messages and data.
Now, what that data leak revealed was details of Russia's most dangerous cyber criminals, including members of the Conti gang and other ransomware groups.
These men, with nicknames like Globus, Mushroom and Bentley, are now wanted by the UK's National Crime Agency. But could they be behind one of the worst cyber attacks ever on a local council?
My name is Andy Auld. I head up the operational intelligence team in the National Cybercrime Unit. Bentley is a nickname that's been around for a long time. Bentley's real-world identity is Vitaly Kovalyov. He was one of the original designers of TrickBot, which was one of the core weapon systems, if you like, used by the Conti group in order to attack victims. The TrickBot/Conti group is the operation that was ultimately involved in deploying ransomware against Redcar.
So finally, a face and name of a suspect behind the cyber attack on Redcar, Vitaly Kovalyov, or Bentley. He and his criminal colleagues worked for numerous cybercrime groups, including TrickBot and Conti.
Mushroom is better known as Ivan Vakhromeyev, one of the key managers of the malware system. Globus is Valentin Karyagin, one of the key coders and developers of different ransomware payloads.
These men are now wanted for a string of attacks on public institutions like councils, schools and hospitals. In Britain alone, they're suspected of extorting at least £27 million over a 5-year period, but they remain at large and a threat.
Law enforcement cannot go to Russia to arrest these people. They can pass on requests for the Russians to take action. They don't. So I would say it's not something that Putin directs, but it's something he hosts. So it's the largest safe haven for cyber criminals anywhere on planet Earth.
The Embassy of the Russian Federation says no requests to investigate suspicious cyber activities have been submitted by the UK authorities. In a statement, they say,
"We firmly reject unfounded allegations against Russia with regard to wrongful acts. Disappointingly, the UK officials have once again descended into political finger-pointing instead of minding their own business."
As the criminals behind the attack on Redcar regrouped, Mary Lanigan gave evidence to a parliamentary inquiry into the cybersecurity threat facing the UK.
I don't think central government, with the local authorities, are actually at the top of the game. The financial cost of the cyber attack was absolutely huge, and I think we lost about 7 million. Redcar and Cleveland Council wasn't insured for this.
The council told us while they have general insurance cover, they still don't have a specific policy which covers a cyber attack. They say they were recently inspected by external auditors who found at the time of the attack the council had proper arrangements and controls in place to reduce the likelihood of a cybersecurity breach. According to the Information Commissioner's Office, there were 381 cyber attacks on local councils in 2024. 202 of those were ransomware attacks.
You've got a lot of legacy systems. You've got old, out-of-date applications which inherently they have greater vulnerability. Local authorities are not going to spend what they need to be spending upon cybersecurity.
In a statement, the government said they are taking action to protect local councils by providing funding to increase their cyber defences. And they're considering a ban on the public sector paying ransoms to cyber criminals.
I'd gone down to Westminster and tried to explain, and they didn't listen. So this is going to happen to a lot of councils if they don't get this sorted out. The NHS were down there at Westminster when I was there, and they didn't seem to listen to them either. The central government offered nothing to try and mitigate what would happen if it happened again.
And sure enough, it did happen again. And again. In fact, the threat of cyber attacks on our public services today is described as severe. In 2024, the NHS in London was hit with a cyber attack along with a medical services provider called Synovis. There was huge disruption. Operations were cancelled. A ransomware group called Chilin, believed to be based in Russia, claimed responsibility.
I managed to get in touch with them, and they agreed that if I sent them a list of questions, they would record and send me a video of their responses.
A few days later, via the dark web, I received a file.
This video is recorded for Jeff White and BBC. We use a synthesized voice. We are ready to speak only in this way.
It's very difficult for us to verify the video's authenticity, but we have shown it to a number of experts who say it's very likely to be genuine.
There's a reason they've sent us this video. It's their spin machine in full effect. They believe that slick performances like this make them look more professional, make their victims more likely to pay up. But despite that, this gang claim they're not in it for the profit.
Our main goal is not to make money. We see how unfair the world is and change it for the better. We show corporations and politicians from the so-called first world countries that they cannot feel safe. And we'll do it again and again.
So they claim to be ransomware Robin Hoods. But what do they say about their victims?
Who do you mean when you say victims? If you are talking about politicians and corporate leaders, we don't give a damn about their suffering. They could have paid us and minimized the harm, but they refused to do so.
In a text exchange, I also asked the Chilin gang what they think about hacking local authorities, and they said they thought such attacks were wonderful.
That was the word they used. I also asked them how they go about choosing their targets, their victims. Now, Chilin are believed to be based in Russia, and their answer would certainly be appealing to the Russian government. It's very, very anti-West.
Your leaders are overconfident. They think they control the world. And that thinking allows them to play with the lives of people in other countries they call third world countries. Well, each of our attacks shows them that they are just people who can lose too.
This isn't easy to watch as a journalist. What we're meant to think is that this group are professionals, they're business people. They've also said that this is a political act, that it's about hitting back at the West. But frankly, at the heart of this is extortion. And just because it's being done on the dark web and through laptops doesn't make it any less damaging for the victims who suffer.
So, despite all the lessons that could have been learnt from the attack on Redcar and Cleveland Council, the fight goes on to protect our public services.
I think it'll get worse. And maybe we should go back to paper and pens. I wonder sometimes, has technology gone too far? That people can do these things?
It's the little people, it's the likes of me, the likes of Claire, when we need support and help and we can't get it because you decide you want to hack a system.
Redcar in Cleveland was a crisis. What about 10 Redcar in Clevelands at the same time? What about 100 of them? That's not inconceivable.